Okay, is this working? Because we've changed everything. We've changed continent, we've changed computer, we've changed microphone, we've changed everything. And so, I want to know, is it working? How is everyone doing today? Welcome to the stream. We are in sunny Lima, Peru right now. So I wish you a very, very good morning, day, evening, midnight. I don't know what time it is where you are, but there are bookcases. There are all sorts of stuff going on here. There are also a few hats. Yeah, Lucy doesn't like the mic in the corner. I don't know. I kind of like the mic in the corner. Normally you have it right up in my face, so that's a little bit of a difference. But if I move it back, hold on, I'll mute it and I'll move it back to satisfy Lucy. Okay, how's that? Can you still hear me okay? Or maybe I could put it somewhere else. I don't know. Audio is so important. So important. Okay, one sec then. How about now? Now it's like straight on. Right? Okay, sorry. All of our technical wrangling. Always last minute, always good. What are we going to do today? We're going to do some very, very fun things. We are going to continue our Historical Linguistics challenge that we did last week. And we made some good progress on it, but we haven't finished. And so today, I think we're going to finish. And I have been working on it a little bit on my own to, just to make things go a little bit smoother so we don't have to take weeks and weeks to finish because the problem posed to us is a big one. We have some hats. I'm told that we should be doing hat stuff. So I'll give you the hat rundown. I'll have to take these off though. Not that it really matters. Okay, hat number 1. I don't know what the vibe is here with this hat. This is the cool mode hat from before. I don't think it really works with this getup, but so hat number 1. This is actually from Korea. Ears have I. Hat number 2. These are literally hats that I have found. I think this may be a woman's hat. And so there's hat number 2. I don't know what you think. Is this technically a fedora? Okay, hat number 2. And hat number 3, which is a little dusty. I don't know if it's supposed to go around. All right. Here we go. Yep. So there's this one. And this is the world of hats. Yeah, that's really dusty. I think I'm going to sneeze. Okay, so that's the hat show. So if you like one particular hat, put it in the chat. We have the green hat, the black hat, and the straw hat. And I make absolutely no guarantees that I'm going to wear it throughout the entire stream because it's really hot. And I can't have the fan on because it goes right into the mic and makes everything unpleasant for people. Okay, so I guess I'll do a little YouTube intro, shall I? Okay. YouTube, welcome. We're in a different location today. We're coming at you from Lima, Peru, and we are about to start, or rather continue, our work on the Historical Linguistics Challenge A. Imagine I'm drawing an A there. So let's get started. Let's get into the Google Sheet, shall we? Over to the side webcam. Zoom. There we go. Okay, so you can see what I've been working on. I have gone a little intense. And let's see if I can arrange these windows properly. There we go. And what I've done is I've made a complete list of the correspondences for all of the all of the consonants. So there are all the consonants there. And then all of the different tones in languages F, G, and H. And then I've started on the vowels as well. And based on all this, I've made some preliminary reconstructions. I haven't done the vowels for all of them yet, so I thought today we can sort of finish this job and sort of do what I haven't yet done, or correct what I have done wrong. So, Satan, you're right. This challenge, this really has been keeping me up nights. I have to say, it's a challenging one. I don't think I have the complete answer yet, but let's see what we do have. So, for those of you who haven't seen this, it probably won't make a ton of sense if you haven't seen the start of this, but I'll do a brief recapitulation of what we're doing here. So, our lovely Discord community, and by the way, if you're not in the Discord, come to the Discord. It's great. Link in the description. Our lovely Discord community has put together a challenge for me and for us. And what it is a family of conlangs. So we were given, this is what we were given. So all these lovely colorful columns. So we have 30 cognate sets in 8 different languages. And our task is to reconstruct a plausible proto-language for these. And then at the end of today, I think, hopefully, we'll be able to check it against the actual proto-language. And so thank you very much to Satan and the rest of Team A for putting this together. It turned out to be a real challenge. But, I'm seeing lots of straw hat suggestions. All right. Well, I'll wear the straw hat and we'll see how long I can keep it on for. I don't know if does the string go at the front or the back, or I don't know. So this is what we're gonna do. This is a dusty hat. I should have cleaned this off first. All right, so where were we? Did I consult the Discord copy? I have not. Front under the chin. Okay, so there we go. I've not looked on Discord, so I've not seen the official answers. But here's what I've got so far, and maybe it's best for us to just sort of go over this. I think I might need to zoom in a bit, actually. The big problem areas. So one of the big problem areas is the consonant, the reconstruction of the consonants, and I won't walk you through and bore you with all of the thought process that I went into over the last week. It's summarized here, and maybe what I can do is share this link so that you can jump in and look. Let's share. Nice loading wheel there. Always a classic. And then we can let anyone with the link see. Copy that. And let's see where. There we go. Lucy, would you mind sending that link to the chat? Okay. So what's next? So I came up with these proto-consonants. Get this out of the way. And I gave them kind of cover terms. So F1, these are kind of algebraic stand-ins for whatever the value was, because at the start I didn't really have strong ideas. And so things like, I gave them sort of my best guess, things like K1, K2, and K3. So these are things that seemed like velar stops of some variety, or stops or fricatives that wasn't quite clear, and so I called them K1, K2, and K3. And I lined up all of the correspondences rather here, and saw, in word 10, so this is how to read this little spreadsheet. In word 10, so we go over to word 10, which is something like, my reconstruction is something like Sankara, or Sankara. And I looked at this this velar that shows up. And it's a k in branch A, it's a k in branch B, it's a g in branch C, it's a g in branch D, and so on. And I wrote them down across here and then tried to come up with some patterns. And the patterns are, there are always exceptions. Well, not always, but there are often exceptions because sometimes there are contextual changes. You know, things are not always going to show up exactly the same. So for example, here we have a correspondence set for this K1 proto-consonant, which looks like going from A to E, K, K, G, G, K. And then we see it again as K, K, G, K, K. And we see it again as glottal stop, null, G, and then this J fricative. So the question is, you know, we aren't given these K terms. We have to come up with them. So if we don't have these at all, if we just delete these and we delete this, how do we know what things group together in the proto-language and what don't? And so we have to kind of sort out what the regularities are. And so my attempt of doing that is in this tab, which is labeled CO in the Google Doc if you're following along, for correspondences. I was on a small screen, so I had to make the names pretty short so I could easily see what I was doing. And I just went through all the consonants and did that, and then made my best guess as to which were the sort of the unmodified reflexes of each sound in the daughter languages, and which weren't. And so when I could find a plausible reason for something to have shown up differently than in other words, I made up a rule. And so let's take a look at the rules. So this is what I've been working on. And I have a long list of rules that will derive each of these languages from the proto-language that I've reconstructed so far. And it's incomplete. But basically, this is what we're looking at. And so if you're in the Google Sheet, you can check it out as well. When I found something that looked like an exception to the regular outcome of a sound, and I could explain it with a rule, I put that sound in blue in the correspondences chart. And when I could not find a plausible explanation for it, or haven't done so yet, I put it in red. And so the reds are still mysteries to me, although some of them may be simpler to solve than others. And so that's the overall picture. So I came up with these sort of algebraic stand-in consonants like K1, K2, L, which looks like a lateral of some kind, N, which looks like a coronal nasal of some kind, and it's like P1 and P2. You know, what are these? Are these sort of a voicing contrast? Is this an aspiration contrast? I don't know yet. And so I came up with all of these, and then I looked at how they showed up in the daughter languages. And based on that, I came up with some reconstructions as to what the values of these might be. And I put them into two columns, confident and speculative. I think maybe some of the ones that I was confident about, maybe I shouldn't be as confident about, especially the voicing pairs of the stop series. So I have K1 as K and K2 as G. And so I've come up with this kind of inventory, which I think looks slightly weird, and it makes me not have as much faith in it, but we can suss that out together now, perhaps. So this is, I think, our first task, is to look at this inventory and say, is this something that looks plausible, or is this something that looks a bit wonky? So we have, if we look, let's just make a little inventory chart. So we have some stops, we have some fricatives, we have some nasals. I don't know why that's bold. And I'm on a different computer here, so bear with me if things don't go in the right spot. We have, what else do we have? We have some, let's just put, oh yeah, we need lateral fricatives. And then we have liquids, glides. Okay. And then let's put labials, coronals, and then let's say velar and uvular across here. This is a Latin American keyboard, and some of the keys are in the I don't say the wrong places, but not the places I'm looking for them. So coronal, labial. I guess I don't have to abbreviate these because they're kind of big. So okay, what do we have? We have something like pa, ba, pa, ba for the stops in the labial series. We have, I know it's not the click, 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 clack, clack, clack of my mechanical keyboard at home. And we have ta. We don't have da, which I think is an indication that I might be wrong about this reconstruction. But we have ta and ta, and so we have the regular voiceless ta and the aspirated ta, and then in the velars we have ka, ga, and ka. So I think there's something incorrect about this reconstruction so far, but when I looked at each series on its own, these are the values that suggested themselves. And then we have a uvular ka. Then for fricatives, we have something like, we have sa, sh. We have the lateral fricative hla. And do we have any other fricatives? I don't think so. Then we have la, ra. And we have wa and ya. We'll call this palatal or velar, just to save a column. And what else? Have I missed anything? No, I don't think so. Oh, and the nasals, right. So we have ma, na, and nga. Although I doubt that velar nasal is phonemic, because it only shows up before velar stops. Okay, so that's basically the inventory that I've reconstructed. I think that there's something wrong with the stop series, because we have a voicing distinction in labials, we have an aspiration distinction in coronals, and we have the whole series here in palatals and velars. Oh, thank you. You have correctly pointed out that I was missing the dental fricative th. Thanks, Quinn. Yeah, deluxe tux. That's a tough one. What word is that? Let's go over to the. So I think that's word 7. My solution, as you can see, I also have trouble with this because I put it in red. My solution for this is not done. So when we get back to the vowels, we can probably work on this again. Oh, I feel kind of cool with this hat on, I have to say. I don't know. Okay. So let's see what else. Let's go back to our inventory. So I would love your thoughts on this inventory, and we can dig into why I made any of the decisions that I made. I think that's probably a good thing for us to do, especially around these stops. So maybe we should look. Let's look first at the labial series of stops and see what the correspondences look like. So here's what we have, and we can put up the. Yeah, there we go. We can put up the words side by side so we can consult both. This is like a real problem-solving session. All right. Oop. I'm also do my resist the temptation to do a tribute to Jackson Crawford here. I won't do it. Yeah, the dogs. Dogs are having a good time out there. So say hi, dogs. There you go. Yeah. All right. So where were we? So we have, I think, 2 labial stops based on the following patterns. We have okay. So it's mainly based on the difference between this row here in 3, and so this environment I should probably explain. There's a lot to explain. So here we have this this consonant showing up after a vowel and before whatever this consonant T1 is, and here we have a similar situation where it's preceded by a vowel and followed by a consonant T2. And actually, that's a better example. So let's look at line 53 here, which comes from word 5. So this is this yuhlos word, which shows up where we have the relevant consonant showing up as a glottal stop. And then we see the same thing showing up as a P in C, D, and E. And then, excuse me, my stomach is rumbling. And my meal times are all off here, I have to say. It's not much jet lag, but even so, I had a red-eye flight, and so my whole time of day is messed up. Okay, so in 5 we have this correspondence of glottal stop versus P. Let's just look at the first 5 branches to simplify things, and we can. That desk has a metal sheet there that I didn't know about. Okay, so we have the glottal stop P correspondence, which is what we see here. And then in 7, we see what looks like the same series. But here we see it showing up as, so we have a vowel first, and then we have this lateral fricative in branch A. And we see it showing up as P. And we have P, B, P. And then we have the P metathesizing way off to the left in branch D, and then P in here. So we don't have, the big difference is we don't have it going to a glottal stop before this consonant that gives us a lateral fricative in branch A, and so, which I've called T2 as a sort of cover term. And so based on that, I've hypothesized two different labial stops. And the natural distinction that occurred to me would be one of voicing. But that's not by any means the only potential explanation. But if it is, then we'd have a situation perhaps where P1 represents the voiceless stop, and all of our voiceless stops debuccalize and go to glottal stops before, well, among other things, the lateral fricative. And the voice stops, or the P2 series, whatever that is, do not. And so that's the idea there. As for why P1 is P and P2 is B, that is a grayer area, and that's probably something that we should investigate, because we actually see both P and B for both. So in our P1s, which have this patterning, we have some B's showing up and some P's showing up. And in P2, it's the same situation, so we have P's and B's. And so to sort this out, I have, let's go back up to our changes. We can sort of highlight the I don't know if I can highlight it, but here I have the rule. So we all of our voiceless stops, in fact, go to glottal stop before the end of a syllable, in a coda position, and which is this is how I'm symbolizing that in coda position. So when syllable final, and then after that we have B becoming P in certain circumstances, such as before so for those who are not hip to the scene, that is the sound of the ice cream delivery. Yeah, so enjoy that. Right, so we have thank you. That's really great. See, that's not what I'm used to for the ice cream truck, you know? I'm used to this this, you know, that sort of thing with the little van going around the neighborhood. That's what it was like when I was a kid. We didn't have this business. But that is just part of the charm. Okay. So this is the analysis. Basically, if we look at line 7, A7 here, we can see the voiceless stops debuccalizing in syllable final position, and then the voiceless version devoicing before the lateral fricative and at the start of a word, which I don't know if I love that rule. So why make it the voiceless version that debuccalizes? Well, we have this similar patterning going on with stops at all places of articulation. So if we look at, where is it? If we look in the coronal places of articulation, we also see that T1, when word final or before a consonant, also turns into a glottal stop. So that's right here, lines 82 and 83, and line 87. So we see it with the labials, we see it with the coronals, and we also see it with the dorsals. So we see here in lines 16 to 18, we see K1 also debuccalize. And it looks to me like we have a sort of a general pattern here. We have some kind of stops turning into glottal stops, so losing their place of articulation when at the end of a syllable, including at the end of a word. And then we have other ones that don't. And so in the velars, we seemingly have the need for 3. We have ones that debuccalize in coda position, ones that don't, and ones that affricate in branch A. And so to capture that sort of 3-way distinction, I've posited K1, K2, and K3. And given that we have one that aspirates into K, it seems to me like that would be potentially a, what's it called? One that affricates, we think it might be an aspirated stop. So K. And indeed, it does show up as aspirated in branch E. And it seems to me that going from an aspirated stop to a fricative is more likely than the other way around. So that's what I'm thinking there. Chat, am I onto something? Am I totally off? The argument against this analysis, I think, is that it requires weird rules like B devoices in word initial position, which I'm not totally in love with. It's not the weirdest rule in the world, but it's a bit strange. And we have it in branch A and we have it in branch B. So we have ba devoicing in initial position. It seems to me like something that was voiceless is more likely to voice, say, after a vowel. There could be a P3. That's the thing. There could be a P3. In fact, I was kind of looking for a P3, and I was thinking maybe it's one of these ones that I've called F1. So these are an interesting correspondence set. We have them showing up as dental fricatives in A and D. We have them showing up as labials in B and C, labial fricatives. And we have them showing up as a coronal stop in E, or a fricative, or sorry, affricate. So, and then there's this weird onglide in C as well, but we don't have to worry so much about that. So what I was thinking here is kind of like in some varieties of English, you have dental fricatives like the, which get turned into labials, v. That is potentially what happened here. That would explain the fact that we have both dental fricatives and labial fricatives, and dental stops as well. It seems to me that the thing that can go to both of those relatively easily is a dental fricative. But if this were a p, how would we get j and d and th and the from it easily? Especially, in the case of 14. Oops, 14. So this is something that in branch A shows up as thakne, and in branch B is vagne, and in branch C is fa. So if this is reconstructed as something like, I don't know, pakne, how are we going to get fa from, well, no, fa, that's easy. How are we going to get thakne? We don't have any motive for dissimilating in this word if it's pakne. We don't have any, and then it would have to happen in branches A and D, which don't seem to have a lot of other changes in common. Ah, Gustavo, thank you. This is a found hat. No, well, more or less. I was given the run of the hats of the house because there was some talk of needing a hat for this stream, and so essentially what happened is I asked, "Are there any hats around?" And then here are the hats. Here are all the hats that I was given, and this is the one that the chat has suggested. So I'll keep it this way because it's a bit dusty on top. Yeah, so that's the problem. Those are the problems I can see with having p as the sound for F1. Okay, so we've thrown down the gauntlet. This is our job to figure out what's going on. I'm going to do a cut for YouTube here. Now that we're all reacquainted, we can make some more progress. So I'll go back onto here. And YouTube. I'm very glad that you've joined us today. I feel super cool right now. Come back. What's the phrase? Come back soon. Like and subscribe. All of that good jazz. And we will do some more. We've got some more historical conlang for you. But chat, you don't have to wait because you're here. So we'll just jump right back in after I do another. Oh, tell you, I'm schwitzing like a wilde Chaya in here. That one's for you, Gustavo. Okay, I'll do a little YouTube intro. Sorry, I'm suffering a little bit in the heat here. It must be like 30 degrees. And okay, focusing. YouTube, welcome back. We've got more historical linguistics to do. We don't have a lot of time to do it in, so let's jump back in. All right. So, Jack Wren says, what about some sort of ps and x stuff like in Greek? Interesting. We don't seem to have any initial consonant. Oh, that's not totally true, is it? We do have some. In branch B, we're actually shown explicitly that we have things like vlo as a potential onset. We have thwa as a potential onset. We have, what else? Gl as a potential onset. So if we have a cluster there, and say one of them is labial and one of them is coronal, that could do it. Okay, so, oops, no, that's not what I want. So what happens if we do that? What would it be? It might be something like, pta, something like pta. So let me grab an aspiration diacritic. So maybe F1 is not th, but where am I going? We need, oh, what's the word? Oh yeah, this one. So if it's not th, could it be pth? And then this could give us thakne and vagne, potentially. Oh, the Luxtux Proto-Oceanic has v to th. Interesting. So if we start out with p, then maybe what happens is we have p going to f, we have f going to we have p going to f in B and C. We have f going to v in B, because B likes to voice its fricatives. And then we have, for some reason, in A and D and E, we have it, maybe it's dissimilating base away from this G. And so we go from pagne to tagne, and then that gives us thagne, or thanke, thakne, maybe. I like the inventory that results much more this way. Where's my water? Gotta hydrate. Okay. So, okay. You know, it makes me miss air conditioning. All winter long, I'm thinking, oh, I wish it were hot out, I wish it were hot out. And now I experience the heat and I'm thinking, right. Okay, so I think it's a better inventory this way, certainly. So if we do this, then we have, instead of the th here, we have no, it's not the right. There we go. Okay, so then maybe we have this, and then that starts to make us wonder, do we also have a T3? So if this is the case, I think I'd like to go with this because I like this a lot better. This looks typologically more sound. Not that that's the 100% best argument, but yeah, Sutton, I understand how it took you so long, because it's taken me some time. I worked on this over a number of days here and there, not obviously not full time, but as far as I could without neglecting my other responsibilities. And yeah, there's just so much richness here. Okay, so say we have a three-way phonation contrast in the case of, or a voice onset time contrast in the case of the labial stops. We also have it for the velar stops. So now let's go looking for where it might be in the coronal stops. And the one place that I think it might show up is our T2. So we actually do have T1, T2, and T3. But I have called T2 a lateral fricative. And the reason for that, if we go over to T2, what do we see it doing? We see it showing up as follows. Hla, so voiceless lateral fricative, voiced dental fricative, voiceless dental fricative, voiceless dental stop, or maybe it's alveolar, I don't know, and aspirated coronal stop. And then we see it in the far branches, as I'm going to call these FGH, as a voiceless dental fricative, a coronal lateral, and as a voiceless coronal fricative, se, the strident. So what could give us all of those? And I was thinking maybe what could give us all of those is the lateral fricative. It seems like it would be fairly easy to get to a non-lateral fricative from there. It seems like it would be fairly easy to get to a non-fricative lateral from there. And so they sort of meet in the middle and give us this idea of a lateral fricative. However, if this is duh, then one problem that it potentially raises is we know that B likes to voice all of this. B likes to voice all of its fricatives. This is just something we see across the board. So where A has sh and E has sh, B has j. A has sh, B has j. A has s, B has z. We see it all over the place. A has f, B has v. So it seems to me that this should be a proto-voiceless consonant. And so once we've done that, then we don't have any real ammunition for calling it duh. And so that's why I landed on the lateral fricative here. And Quain, I'm glad to see that you agree. So maybe we just have a gap in the coronals. And are there any other of these consonants which might be a duh? Well, maybe. Well, whatever T1 is, it is the same as K1 and P1 in that it participates in this debuccalization in coda position. So if P1 is voiceless, then T1 and K1 should also be voiceless, I think. Given that we have stops that don't do this, which we have so far reconstructed as voiced. So I don't see many directions for us to move here. So I think this is what we're left with. Oh, water's so satisfying. All right, Chad, any thoughts so far? Happy without a D? All right. Well, if you're happy, I'm happy. So let's continue. Let's see what other mysteries we have. Sutton has thoughts. Oh, I can't wait to see. At the end of today, we're going to do the reveal. And Lucy, do you have the reveal for me? because it'd be cool to put it up on screen. So, all right. So then, now that we've dealt with the consonants, debatably the D could have become a R. Let's take a look at that. So we have, I guess it could have, but we don't have much. I mean, if it weren't for this gap, I wouldn't have considered it. So I don't know. It depends on, and this is sort of an issue in historical reconstructions in general, which is how much weight do we put on the typological evidence, or typological considerations, and how much weight do we put on the evidence from the descendant languages. Oh yeah, before the proto, maybe D became R. Okay, so constant inventory. What is with the S in D corresponding to R? Let's look at that. So let's look at some examples. We have 10, 12, so Sankara or Sankara. Here we have Sangasa. I don't think there's any way for us, this should be actually, it's intervocalic, which is a really, really weird place to devoice. But nevertheless, I don't think we have any other option here, because we have no evidence for any cluster. We have just a plain, we have some plain uvular fricatives and trills. We have this final syllable deletion in branch C. And then we have this S showing up here. And then our only other piece of evidence is this retroflex in branch E. And then if you want to see more like this, we have 21. So in this magnificent root here, we have it showing up again, just intervocalic and proud. R to S is weird. I don't see any sort of phonetic naturalness argument for it. So what we could do then, I mean, we could make this into treat this as Rhoticism and treat branch D as having the ancestral form. But then we have to contend with forms like 24, where we have S showing up corresponding to S in branches C and E. So in this Lucy form, another lovely root. I wonder what it means. Lucy, Lucy in branches D and E, Los in branch C, and then Lise and Luse in branch A and B and A respectively. So yeah, we have a very nice combination in 21 and 24 that not only shows something interesting about this S correspondence pair, but also can occasionally make decent YouTube videos. All right. Another piece of evidence I think that makes me slightly wary is that my reconstruction of this word here, which I haven't done the vowels for yet, seems to have a K here, whereas clearly I think it should be a G, something voiced. I'm, just for the meme potential, I'm anticipating something like Colingori, but could be wrong. So the fact that there's a K showing up here makes me suspicious. Staten, of course, can't answer on honor. But okay, let's talk about the high tone in A. So I haven't fully analyzed this yet, but it seems to me like what we have in the proto-language is a stress system where heavy syllables attract stress. We have penultimate stress, so in case of something like Sankara, unless we have a heavy syllable in the ultima, in the final syllable, and then we get something like abhlur, or weplit, or uplos, or ukapnash, or for something that is a bit less consonantal on the end, epteu, in these reconstructions. So it seems that what happened was whatever the stress syllable in the proto-language was, it gets high tone in branch A. And that's basically it. The tone systems of branches F, G, and H are much more complicated. So, intervocalic R to S may be weird, but intervocalic R to T or D would be even weirder. Yeah. And that said, you know, sometimes weird things do happen. That's another sort of fact about language change, especially when you telescope changes over many generations. So maybe phonetic naturalness is a good way of guiding your analysis when it comes to changes generation by generation. But we know that a change can be natural from one generation to the next, natural one generation to the next. But after 10 of those changes, if you look only at the first change and the last change, you may get something that looks pretty much unnatural. So it's a good heuristic to focus on natural sound changes, but we don't know exactly, especially when long distances of time separate the two forms. Really, it's almost the case that anything can become anything. Okay, so what else can we do? Let's see. We can stop to fan myself. That's one thing I can do. It is hot. Okay. What else do we have? I did reconstruct some change shifts. So let's talk about some weirdness with the stop series. Let's look at the changes. So let's look at this situation that I did not know really what to do with. So the relevant cells are in the changes tab in column D, 7 to 9, and also again 14 to 16. It's slightly disorganized still. So we have a situation where what we've reconstructed as P, which is P1, and what we've reconstructed as B, which is P2, seem to swap in branch D. So we get things like, let's go back to the here. So we have in word 7, we have something that I have reconstructed as oh no, sorry, this should be a B. Something I've reconstructed as a B. The reason I've reconstructed it as a B is because it does not delete before the lateral fricative, which we see in a lot of cases. See if I can find an example. So here in word 25, we have some stop that doesn't delete, but it debuccalizes and becomes a glottal stop before the lateral fricative. And in 7, it does not. We have p. And so I reconstructed this as a voiced stop. Webpleet. I don't know. What is that? That's a central vowel. Yeah. It's a bit small. Sorry. This is a smaller monitor than the one I have at home. And so if that's true, and it is a proto-B, then why does it show up in D as p. And similarly, if we have the kind that does delete in coda position, which I've reconstructed as proto-p, why does that show up as a voiced stop in branch D? This is a bit of a mystery. And so to handle that, I've used something that's pretty brutal. And I've said, they swap, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And what's worse, we also see it happening with K and G. And so I've just purely mechanically to make this work, I've said P goes to P star, which is some random constant that I don't know what it is. Then B scoots in and fills the gap of P, and then P star fills the gap of B. And this seems totally horrible, and it's a major argument against the quality of this reconstruction, frankly. But we have the same kind of thing happening with K and G. And so this is a bit weird, and I'm not sure what to make of it. Maybe it's the case that I've got these backwards, and that it's the voiced ones that debuccalize and the voiceless ones that don't. But that seems a bit weird too. So anywhere you go, anywhere you slice it, it seems a bit weird. And then the kind of chain shift nature of this comes in when we get the aspirated versions getting pulled in and showing and turning into plain stops. Yeah, if P star were a bilabial fricative, but then if it's a bilabial fricative, why does it just spontaneously voice and then turn into a stop? It just seems a bit dubious to me. Why am I wearing a hat? Lichen is popular demand, I have to say. It's everything I do it for the people. So it's for style points as well, I have to confess. We even had a vote at the start as to which hat I should wear. Maybe this is, maybe Team A has come up with some sound changes that are not, the kind of classic ones you read about. That's also a possibility that we should not discount. Yeah, that's true. Sawton, okay, so I want to clarify something. Sawton did a huge amount of work, but it was also a team effort. From what I understand, there's a whole A team that was involved. Could one have retroactive voicing assimilation and the other progressive? Let's see what the environments are. So something that's promising for that analysis is that we don't have any intervocalic examples of these, which is maybe also a bit suspicious. But it is also a very small data set as far as these things go, although a huge amount of work went into it. I can't minimize that, but it's a small data set, so we don't necessarily expect everything to show up in every possible environment. What else? Okay, so let's look at this assimilation analysis. So let's look at the words in which we have them. So we have P1 showing up in word 1, which I've reconstructed so far as ukapnash. Oh, sorry, ukapnash. Oh, Sulian, some languages just swap sounds. Some Ojibwe dialects just turn initial E into A and then A into E. I mean, if it's possible, we can't rule it out. Let's look at the potential assimilation analysis first and see if there's anything we can do with that. So we have this is in word 1, we have it showing up before a nasal, which I think would be a pretty decent environment to voice. And indeed, we do see it voicing after metathesis in branch D, but not branch B. although we do see it in F, G, and H. We see it disappearing altogether in C, and we see it glottalizing in A and B. And then let's find another one with 2. So if P2 were, okay, so let's just rewrite this as N, S, and so far T1 we're looking at as T, T2 as the lateral fricative. So, okay, so these are all voiceless, so that's good. But then we have the identical environment here with P2. So I don't know. I don't know if we can rely on an assimilation analysis when we have a more or less identical environment and 2 different outcomes in the same language. Yeah. So maybe it is just a swap. So then in that case, if it is just a swap, we can look back. We can see it happen in the velars. It happens in the labials. And because we don't have a voiced equivalent in the coronals, we don't have a swap. We just have t going to fill the voiced hole, which is something that happens in the other place of articulation. So the voiceless equivalent goes to voiced, and then we have the fricative and the aspirated, the lateral fricative and the aspirated T going into the plain voiceless T and D. So this is something that makes me think, I don't know, this is a bit weird, but it's not the weirdest thing I've ever seen. What does P/F1 become? So if we have to go back and redo some of these rules now that we've changed that analysis. So let's see. We have P going to the. We have P going to V. We have P going to F. So that's A, B, and C. What else do we have? Do we have anything? No, I believe it stays th in D. Yes. So, well, stay is the wrong word now because we've changed it to a P. So we would have to do something like P going to th, which is very much not the pattern that we see with the other affricates. Or, why do I keep saying affricates? Aspirates. So that seems to me a mild argument against the P analysis. And we get absolutely wild things like P going to J in branch E. So I don't know about that. I think we need some extra steps here. Like maybe, yeah, it's dubious. But it does seem to work kind of well for, well, okay, let's not consider it a single step sound change. Let's introduce some stages, because this might also give us some evidence for subgroupings. So if we say P becomes F, so by labial fricative, I don't know if you can hear all these sounds I'm making, but let's, where is that? That's scary, the door just opened on its own. Ghosts. So say we go like this, P to F, and then, excuse the amateurish rules, but all fricatives voice. Then I think, which we independently need for these, so we can get rid of these rules. I think then that works pretty well. So that works there. I have not put them into Lexergy yet. I've been doing this all sort of up here. Maybe Lexergy would have been a good idea. It's one of those labor-saving devices that also introduces a new kind of labor. Yeah. So let's look at these this issue of peripherals. See. We have this thing that happens in Old French where basically so I think the analysis of that is that the peripheral gets broken. So this is something like cambiare, going to changer. And what seems to happen there, let's just get some space, is we have, so just focusing on this one. So we have cambiare, not a link, which goes into cambiare, and then the B drops out at some point, and the Y undergoes fortition, which we already need independently for in French. So we get cam, I don't have the IPA here, jare. So that's how I think that worked. So maybe something similar is happening here. Let's go back up and make it work. So we need p to become th. Maybe this goes through the p to f stage first. And then f to th. We don't have very many words with this in it. 14, 4, and 8, that's it. So if we look at them, what do we have? 14, 4, and 8. So here we have it before an L. Here we have it where is it before an L again? Here we have it, and where's the other one? 14. 14, here we have a word initially. So I don't know what the motivation would be. It just seems like an unconditioned change. That Fox, that's a wonderful suggestion. Unicode input or wing compose helps with inputting IPA on the spot. I'll make a note to self to look that up and save everyone the agony of me going Control C, Control V all over the place. Okay, so say we do have that, then how do we get, we don't have any evidence of a palatal in here though. So if we look at F1, it's initial, so this is thakne. I believe that's our reconstruction so far, or pakne, right? That's 14. We haven't done the vowels yet, but probably something like pakne. Interestingly, this is before a front vowel. So maybe our palatalization is not such a mystery after all, and this is just a duh that's becoming palatalized for independent reasons. So maybe what it is not a duh, but a duh, and then it goes into duh land and does what does do. Yeah, that sentence made sense, I think. So maybe then what we have is something like p going to f, then f going to keyboard, please, and then th going to th. Oh, nothing's in the same spot. Okay, great, it's fine. Everything's fine. Okay, so we have these sound changes which are shared. Let's see if I can make some room, which will show the interesting similarities between these two branches. Great. It's going to be worth it in the end, I swear. Because look, now we have lots of evidence for a shared set of changes for D and E, which we already have with these two. Okay, so let's proceed to finish this off on this analysis. So then we would have to get somehow th to d, which maybe th to t, and then we have some voicing assimilation with the nasal, which Sutton is now asking about, which I will soon get to. Okay, the colors are getting ruined. And then NT becomes maybe ND. Oh, I could be wrong. Okay, let's look at this again. Where does the nasal come from? So I think the nasal is our, so if we have as the, let's just write this so I can pronounce it. If pakne is our protoform, then the N has metathesized and is gone, has gone from after the, so from pakne to or maybe this j is not our culprit at all. Maybe this is our g. So if we have pagne, isn't it more likely that our g would become j rather than our p? And so maybe the p has just dropped out. Huh. That sounds a lot better to me, actually. Wow. Interesting. Okay, on that note, I'm going to put in a YouTube break. YouTube, if you enjoy watching my pain and suffering, please come back and we will reconstruct more and we will soon see the actual answer. Okay, so come back, be well, rejoice, all of those good things, and I have no idea what to say, but we're going to end the video now and we're going to start another one soon. So come back soon. Whew, okay, right. So, wow. Okay, this is intense. I think that might be it. So we're going to have to welcome YouTube back, and we're going to have to keep going. Yeah, why didn't we know it? But because we don't have any other instances where just syllables. No, we actually do, don't we? Right here. Oh, sorry. Okay, no, I'll just do YouTube and then we'll go back. YouTube. I'm getting destroyed here. So what could be more fun than to watch? Let's get back to the side webcam. So I was going to say we don't have any other instances where the initial syllable just drops out. But what's this? We have proto-epteo going to pte. It's right there. Okay. Although this is unstressed. Epteo. This pagne is stressed. So why is that gone? I don't know. This is painful. This is bad. We're gonna find out what it is soon enough. But let's just. Yes. Jack. Ren. Yes. Okay. This is good. That's the key. It becomes vowel initial. It becomes vowel initial, and then we lose it, just like we lose ukapnash, just like we lose abhlur, just like we lose. This is probably like eshkur. It looks like vowel initial words just lose their initial vowel. Okay, we can do this. We can do this. So p to f, and then right. Then we just straight up lose this. This is what it's all about. Seriously. Okay, then we get rid of this. This is unnecessary. We then lose our vowels not when they're super far from the stress, but just simply word initially. And then we get rid of this horrible vowel, this horrible thing. We already have the rule that changes g to j before a vowel, and I think it's probably just before a front vowel. Let's see, 14 and 16 are the words that relevant for that. Pagne jaw. Maybe it's just before a vowel, because that doesn't look very front to me. It's like the least front thing in the world. Yeah, okay, so maybe it just becomes j before a vowel. I mean, things can affricate before back vowels. Okay, so then I think this works. And we save our beautiful p protoform, which we wanted to keep. Okay, and now we have something like a... Oh no, now we have to figure out what's happening in FGH. So what is happening in FGH with... we have no clue because all of those forms are lost. So who knows what happens to them? Anything could have happened. We don't know. So we don't have any evidence from FGH either way. So we might as well, this could be part of proto-DE, the loss of, or the turning of p to f, or it could just be, I don't know exactly. Or it could be part of, frankly, it could be something very, very early on. I don't know. Question from Sawton, how many sleepless nights? I think 3 sleepless nights. But one of those, to be fair, I was on a plane and there was a lot of turbulence and I couldn't sleep for independent reasons. But I'm satisfied. That's really good. Okay, so that solves a little mystery. We have the BP switcheroo. I don't know how we'd write that in a fancy notation, but there you have it. And okay, we've solved some mysteries. Let's organize this a bit. Just get everything slightly more organized looking. It's my curse, I have to do this. Okay, so what's next? What next do we have to look at? Oh, I want to talk about tone. So now that we've reconstructed a bunch of the language, I think we can go back and revisit FGH and look at the tone situation. So I've made some reconstructions of intermediate stages. Sorry, let's get our reconstruction fixed over to the left. So we have, I've done the vowels for the first 10. The vowels are actually a bit simpler than the consonants. So let's just take them as given for now while we're looking at the tone, because unless there is some interaction between vowel quality and tone, which there may be, but I don't think there is in this, then we can bring that in. But for now, we can just leave the vowel quality as our first for our first attempt. So for proto D, E, F, G, H, I'm positing this intermediate stage because why? Because we have the same very striking change where we have these clusters of stops and nasals metathesizing in all of them, and then the nasals assimilating to the place of the newly following stop. So that's what's represented by these rules up here, and this I consider to be kind of a shared innovation of these 5 branches. And so if we look at some examples, what will we see? We would see something like we have these ukatnash or ukatnash, ukatnaj, going to kamba, kimpish, okamba, etc. I'm not going to try and pronounce all of them. And this happens only in these 5, and it happens every single time. So we have something like thakne going to thanke, ja. And so we see this nasal metathesis, nasal stop metathesis happening all over the place. To me, that's a shared innovation, and so we can be confident in reconstructing a proto D, E, F, G, H with that change having happened, and perhaps also with the p becoming f, but maybe not. We don't have direct evidence for that because we don't have any of those in FGH. So as a result, we can, there may be some vowel changes. I'm not totally sure, but right now it looks like we have something like ukampash for the proto D, F, G, H here. It looks like we have basically the same thing, epteu. It looks like we have something like maybe plus here. So I'm mainly not going to have the vowels change between these. And the reason for doing this is merely to get us into a position where we can start to reconstruct proto-FGH from something that's a little closer. Okay, and for the last one, we can just do. Okay. So now we have to make some decisions about tone. Let's look at the correspondences for tone, which I have finished. So there are 17 unique combinations of tones in FGH, including toneless vowels. I'm not sure if they're what no tone marking indicates, but I've taken it to mean toneless or mid-tone or something. I'm not sure. I've marked it with this 0 symbol over here on the right. You can sort of see there. So we have 17. How many actual instances of vowels do we have in these? We have 30. So out of 30 vowels in the words shared by FGH, we have 17 distinct combinations of tones. So, yeah. And we can try and figure out what exactly is going on here together, because I need your help. I need your help. Please help me. So where should we start? Quain, I'm looking to you for help on this one. Shall we... I'm not sure if it makes sense to go over the sort of basics of tonogenesis here. If I open this, will it open up? Okay, there we go. But basically, in a nutshell, see if I can get this right from memory. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong. But we're looking at something like voiced consonants producing low tone, aspirated consonants producing high tone, glottal stops producing high tone, and fricatives producing low tone. I think is that the basics of tonogenesis from memory. So yeah, let's start with the H's and see if it corresponds with anything. So these are H's in branch F. Some of these are word initial. So in 9, we have this. Well, what's one where we have H's in all of them? We have high tones in word 3. So that's proto-epteu. And we have that showing up always as high tone, the second vowel, which comes from this eu diphthong, I think, in the proto-language. And it always shows up as high tone and long. So here we have something that we've reconstructed as a voiceless stop, having high tone, and then there's nothing to interfere with it on the other side. So maybe that's what's going on here. And similarly, we have yeah, there's some stuff going on today here. I don't know if you can hear that outside. Anyway, let's see. So branch F is pretty good. If it's surrounded by a voiceless stop, but not a fricative, it's high. Let's look at word 19. So here we have something like eshkur. And we have word initial with a fricative afterwards. So then we go high, low. So voiceless. So it looks like our fricatives and sonorants are in branch F are giving us low. So we have yeah, we have ra, sh, or hla, ra, sh, sa, all giving us low tone. And then we have before either ta, ya, word onset, dogs, stops. So there are protests, there are ice cream vendors and there are dogs, and they're all competing. So just focus on the tone. Just gotta keep our eyes on the prize here. Let's say, okay, so let's write down some of these generalizations. So it seems that in F we have okay, how am I going to write this? If we have a fricative on the right, so we have low tone. I don't have auto-segmental rules here, so we'll just call it, we'll just write it like that. So our vowel requires low tone before a fricative or R. And before, and then vowel gets a high tone after a voice, after word boundary or yeah, or voiceless stop. This is the ugliest rule I've ever written. So this looks like kind of like an elsewhere case to me, but let's continue. So that would explain all of these. And then if we have a sonorant to the left, it looks like we have, so we have, okay, this is interesting. So we have N throwing off low tone, L throwing off low tone. I don't know if we'll be able to consider these independently, the left side and the right side. Any thoughts, chat? Voiceless and then a fricative. So maybe let's just... Okay. All right. I think I'm going to need to stretch. I'll put in a cut soon. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to splash some water on my face. And we're going to regroup and we're going to conquer this tone. And then we're going to see the answers. Okay, so it seems that we have low tone after L, N, lateral fricative, R, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, it looks like N, so maybe just on either side of N we get low tone. I don't know exactly how to formulate these rules in this kind of abbreviated, in this kind of format without having the cool like auto-segmental association lines and things. People ask, why don't more conlangers work with tone? And tone adds a level of, well, it adds a new dimension. Adds a new dimension that you have to think about. And I think not a lot of people have been exposed to to analysis of tonal languages, and probably also haven't been exposed to many tonal languages. Regardless, yeah, I'm having a hard time coming up with the generalizations here. So we have 4 tones in F. We have H, HL, L, and nothing. I'm not sure what to do here. You may have stumped Colin. You may have stumped Colin. I'm going to put in a cut because we are going to, I'm going to splash some water on my face, and I think we just need to give up. We need to declare tonal bankruptcy, and I think we need to see the answers. So I'm going to put us on, well, I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube, thank you for bearing with us. I know you don't like to see people fail, but we have to make room for the second Historical Linguistics Challenge, which is coming up in not too long. So we've got to do that. So we're going to see the answers today. So if you're on YouTube, you're not going to see them today unless this next one's already up by the time you watch this. But stick around because you will not want to miss the thrilling conclusion. All right, so we will see you then. And chat, I will be right back because I got to splash some water on my face. Oh no, now we're back. Okay, great. Yeah, I've ditched the hat because I think it's contributing to the heat problem, but not that it's not very cool. Yeah, I know. This is too hot for my brain to function. I do not know how to do this. It's gonna be interesting when it gets to proper summer, when I get back to Canada. Cause yeah, okay. Right, let's see the answers, shall we? I think it's time. Lucy, can you do us the honors? I'll reintroduce YouTube. to the situation. YouTube, welcome back. I've ditched the hat because it's really hot here and it's interfering with my cognitive function. What we're going to do now is we're declaring defeat. We have been bested by Team A. So I don't know if I'll be able to live with the shame, but what I will be able to live with is getting to see the right answers. So we're about to see them. Lucy, can you send them over? We're going to go in and we're going to get started and we're going to see where we went wrong. So drum roll. I don't have a drum. There you go. All right. Oh, Lucy, can you send that to me? I can't click on that. Oh. No, I can't click on that. Okay, so the surprise words. Before we move on, let's look at the surprise words. So I think the surprise words are word 21. Colin Gory, I think, is the protoform, or something like Colin Gori. Then I think the other second surprise word is 24, which is Lucy. Shout out to Lucy, by the way, who put up with a lot from me yesterday as we tried to set up the computer here and, get the lighting adequate and everything. Really the unsung hero of this channel. And I think the last one is 22, subscribe, something like that. Which the existence of these things makes me question the reconstructions of the stop series. Because this looks like it should be subscribe, not subscribe. So I think I'm wrong there, but all right, let's do this. Let's see the answers. Dun, dun, dun. We're copying them in. And what we'll do... Okay. Okay. So let's go back to our reconstruction. Where is it? There it is. Boop. Okay. 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 Let's see what we've got. So, how do I get this big enough for me to see? So here's the inventory that I had, or we had worked out. I'm gonna make you share in the blame, chat. No. So here's the inventory that. Sorry, you can't see it all very well, but we had. Interesting. Okay, so we went for a three-way stop system, whereas in the true answers we have a two-way stop system. We have aspirated and tenuous at 4 places of articulation. What else is there? There was an F that we lacked. Looks like we got the S-esh right. We got the 4 places of articulation right. We have an additional velar nasal, but that's just before velars, so not phonemic. There's no lateral fricative. Interesting. There's a velar fricative instead, and then there's a uvular trill, and wa la, no coronal trill. Interesting. Otherwise, I think we're fairly close. In terms of the vowels, we didn't talk much about the vowels. We were caught up in the consonants. But we have a 6-vowel system, the normal 5 plus our high central vowel friend. And then let's see if we have the branching correct. So we are incorrect about the affinity of DE and FGH. There is no proto-DE FGH. There is a proto-AB, and there is a proto-FGH, so we were right about that. That wasn't probably that difficult to be right about, but we were right about it. We have some aerial effects going on in between A, B, and C, and between C, D, and E. And here are the answers. Okay. So let's go back and see. We didn't do vowels for all of them, but we did for the first 10 at least, so we can score ourselves on there. So ukapnash, we got it. Yes. Tikmo. Slight difference in the vowel quality of the final vowel here, but pretty good. Epteu. Although, is this tone or stress? I would imagine stress. Then, oh, totally wrong here. Or totally different, we should say. It's hialfu instead of shathlu. Interesting. Here we have euptos in place of our euplos or euplos. Here we have huat, where we have wat. Here we have weptil instead of weblit. Shathloku, Hjalfoku. And let's do up to 10 at least. We had abhlur, whereas the reference document has aptur, and 10 is sankara, whereas we have sankara. Okay, so what are our big questions? What has been revealed to us here? One of the big differences is that what we thought was a lateral fricative was in fact an aspirated stop, t, rather than hl. So given this, we would need, where is it? So we need to get from this aspirated coronal stop to a lateral fricative, to a voiced fricative, to a non-aspirated stop, It stays the same in E. And then some crazy stuff happens in F, G, and H. I don't know, can you hear that? Yeah. Well, there's stuff going on here today, as I was saying. I don't know if you can hear the people are banging their pots and pans outside. Yeah. No, it's pots and pans. It's if you're interested in why, go look at the world news section of your local outlet, but we won't discuss it here. All right, what else do we have? Oh, the thing that we were agonizing over, pagne, turns out to have been fakne. Quayne, when you say is he off, do you mean something technical, or is the vibe off, or off in what sense? Yeah. Exactly, exactly. These spells. Well, it's a good thing we're coming to our end because I don't think this is going to stop anytime soon. So, t doesn't go to L. Um, so, do we have the sound changes anywhere? I'm curious because the main reason that I chose the lateral fricative for what was in fact the t, the aspirated t, was the need to be able to get to a variety of voiced. Let's see, where are some good examples? I wanted to be able to get to laterals. I wanted to be able to get to voiced fricatives. I wanted to be able to get to stops, and it seemed like that was the best way to do it. So I'd be curious to learn what the actual sound changes were and how it came about that the aspirated stop became a lateral fricative in branch A at least. But I think we have now officially been told how we did, and we did okay. Look, if it helps, we got the first one completely right. Ukap nash. Right here. So we can satisfy ourselves with that. Ta to th to th. I can't do that one. Th, and then to tla, and then to tla. Interesting. Well, chat, it has been an absolute joy to be with you here today from sunny and very hot Peru, and very noisy. I think I'm going to go try and, well, I can't go outside, but I'm going to wish that I could go out and get some of that ice cream. And the door just opened again. So if you never see me again, it's because a ghost devoured me. But otherwise, I think that we've had a really good time, and hopefully this has kind of shone some light on the sort of the nuts and bolts of historical reconstruction. And if you see any historical any protoforms that are being cited, you'll know what kind of process gave rise to them, and what degree of suspicion or doubt you should have about the results. Although, granted, these forms that you'll see in books were made by people who've spent more than 10 total hours working on it. So you should have more faith than you have in the work that we've done here today. But yes, okay. This has been joyous. This has been festive, and I thank you all once again. I will let you know about Thursday. I may change some things, but so I will let you know. If you're not on the Discord, get on the Discord, because that's where we'll tell you. I'll also post something on Twitter. Otherwise, thank you all so much. This has been ridiculously fun. I have had just a whale of a time. But all good things must end. So I will see you all again very soon. Again, very, very warm greetings from Lima, Peru, and I hope that you're all doing well wherever you are. We will see you in the comments. We'll see you on Discord. We'll see you on the next stream. So thanks again, everyone.